You may remember the old Reagan line. I'm trying to remember it here. That a recession is when your neighbor loses his job. A depression is when you lose your job, and a recovery is when the president loses his job. And that's the bottom line. We have to replace this president because look at what he just proposed. I mean, the definition of a psychological illness is doing the same thing over and over and again and expecting a different result. Okay? If you think about it, here is the same old thing. It is big government, stimulus package, short-term incentives, nothing that has anything to do with getting this economy growing. What will get this economy growing? The regulatory environment is crushing business. Crushing. First you have Obamacare sitting out there already being implemented. It's already being implemented. It's already hurting businesses. Businesses tell me that we're looking at 30 to 40% of all employees in America who are covered by insurance who will have their coverage dropped on January 2014 because they will not meet the criteria to have it continue. Why? Here in South Carolina, I was told by the biggest insurance company here in South Carolina that 70 to 80% of the policies they write do not meet the minimum criteria for Obamacare, which means gone. Gone. Okay? What are the businesses going to do? How many businesses do you think are going to increase the level of care to keep their insurance payments? Yeah, I'm just telling you, we have only seen the tip of the iceberg. But if you're a business person, you know this. You're sitting down with your HR people, you're sitting down with your benefits folks, and they're telling you what this is going to cost you in a couple of years. And so what are you going to do? Go out and hire a bunch of people? Obamacare is having an impact now on the economy, and it's devastating. Repeal Obamacare is the first thing we have to do, if we can do it. Number two, we have to do something about the overall regulatory climate. Obviously, here in South Carolina, it's the poster child for overzealous regulation with the NLRB and what's going on down in Charleston. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Look at what's going on in the EPA, shutting down manufacturing. I was at a manufacturing plant in Hollidaysburg, Pennsylvania. Anybody here from Hollidaysburg, Altoona area? They make mining equipment. They used to make 100% of their mining equipment for domestic use. They now, in the last 4 years, went from 100% to 20%. Why? Because the administration has not permitted a mine in years. They're shutting down coal mines. They're shutting down coal production. The coal, Peabody Energy, I don't know if you know, have ever heard of Peabody Coal. There's a coal company in Alabama. He mentioned 3 or 4. They're going to Australia. They're going to South America. They're opening up mines there. And guess what? They're shipping the coal back to the United States. Now, just to understand what that means. This is the equivalent of France shipping oil to Saudi Arabia. We are the Saudi Arabia of coal. We have more coal in America than any other country in the world. We have a 300-year reserve of known coal resources. And we are importing coal. So you want to get the economy going. Let's get the energy sector going. Why do you think Texas is doing so well? Why do you think it's a little oasis down there? Okay, yeah, Mitt Romney was right with the 4 aces line. It's true. You have 0% income tax, and you got a right-to-work state, and you got energy, and all the other things that Texas has going. It's hard not to have a growing economy. Pennsylvania. You Pennsylvanians, is our unemployment rate higher or lower than the national average? Anybody know?
Lower.
Lower. Why?
Natural gas.
Fracking, natural gas. Anybody ever hear of Marcellus Shale?
Yes.
The second largest natural gas find in the world. It's underneath West Virginia and Pennsylvania mostly. We're going to drill 3,000 wells this year in Pennsylvania, and people are making money. And we are employing lots of people, and in rural areas like Lancaster, where unemployment rates have traditionally been high. So energy is a key. When I was in the Senate, gas was 12 bucks. It's now 4. I'm going to bring the second thing I would suggest, the third thing I guess I'm up to now. So energy policy is critical. We have this drill in Alaska, offshore, and the oil Santorum, if you saw the Wall Street Journal, they're trying to build a pipeline from Canada to bring oil into this country. Why are they building a pipeline from Canada? We have that same oil in the upper Midwest, but this administration won't let us drill it. In North Dakota, I mean, it's not Long Island, folks, it's North Dakota. I love North Dakota, for those of us reporting back there. But I mean, the people of North Dakota want the drilling to occur. But it's federal lands. Obama says no. And then wonders why we have horrible unemployment in this country, why we have no growth, why we have high gas prices. Finally, manufacturing. My final thing, and that is, if you look at what's happened to the income quintiles in America over the past 50 years, we've seen, and the Democrats are right on this, we have seen a stratification of wealth. We've seen higher income people concentrating up here, and then a narrowing of the middle income Americans and a growth in the lower income. That's just a reality. Why did that happen? In my opinion, 50 years ago we had 21% of people in this country employed in manufacturing. Now we have 9%. You put those 9% and put it back to 21%, it's middle growth. How do we do that? Well, how do we lose the jobs in the first place? People say, oh, it was labor rates and unions were bad and management was foolish. All of those things are true. But that was 40 years ago. That's when you needed, in a steel plant in Pittsburgh, you needed 10 or 20,000 people working in the mill. How many people now do you have working in mills? 200 to 300 in a productive mill. 10%, 20%, 30% of what you needed before. Why? Because you have mechanization. So think about if we were actually able to bring those jobs back by creating a competitive atmosphere for manufacturers to be successful. Labor costs are not what they were. They may be higher here, but labor costs are only 20 or 30% of what they used to be for manufacturing because you only need 20 or 30% of the workforce. So it's not as prohibitive to manufacture here as it was. It's prohibitive because we have a regulatory environment that's hostile, we have energy prices that are too high and unreliable, and third, we have a tax structure that's too onerous. So what I propose to take the corporate tax, which is 35% on manufacturers, it's 35% on everyone. Cut the corporate tax for every corporation to 17.5%, cut it in half. But for manufacturers, zero it out. So if you make things here in America, you pay no corporate taxes. How many people think jobs will come back to this country? One final thing. There's problems right now in getting loans. I hear it from businesses, particularly small businesses. The ability to get loans is really difficult, even large businesses. I don't know if you saw it in the paper a couple of months ago, but there's a bank in New York that's actually charging you for your deposits because they have no place to invest the money because the regulators have made it almost impossible to invest. So what are we going to do to free up money? Well, if you look at all these manufacturers who outsource their jobs overseas, in China, in India, in Mexico, when they made money in those countries, in those plants, they paid local taxes. But if you want to bring that money back to America, you have to pay up to a 35% tax on that money. So guess what they do? They leave it there. They leave it in the foreign subsidiary. And they reinvest that money into plant and equipment there. There's $1.2 trillion of cash from all these companies sitting in these countries. What I'm saying is bring it back to maximum we'll tax you is 5%,